James chapter 4, verse 14. Whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time, that vanish away. For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. Wow. Now that's how you stay righteous in what you say. You say, I'm supposed to be going to Greensboro. Therefore, if the Lord will, I will be going to Greensboro at such and such a time. It's as we give God sovereignty over our lives by acknowledging Him in whatever we do. We say to the Lord, you are in control of our lives when we behave that way. 16, but now you rejoice in your boasting. All such rejoicing is evil. Now, if you start saying you're going to make a trip and you're going to do this and you're going to do that, and you have not asked the Lord and you have not spent time with Him concerning what you're going to do, you can end up getting in an ugly place. I don't want to go anywhere that the Lord has not gone before me and goes with me. And when we go and do our own will, it's evil. And it's evil rejoicing. Verse 17. Therefore to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. Therefore, as a believer, as an ambassador of Jesus Christ, when you know that you need to ask God and petition God for whatever decisions you are making in your life, and you don't do it, whatever it is, whatever the command is, if you are supposed to be going on a mission trip, but you have not asked the Lord, can I go to this particular place? How is your will for me to go to this place? And then you go there and all chaos breaks out. Can you actually blame God? No, because you have not sought Him before. You did not seek to find out if that was God's will for you. And at that point, what you did and what has come upon you, you might need to accept, because you did not ask the Father. But the real deal of this statement is, if you know to do good and don't do it, it's sin for you. If you know that somebody is hungry and you don't feed them, if it's within your ability, you have the money, you have the capability of going and feeding them, then for you it's sin. If you know that someone needs a hug, I mean, it's very simple. It's the doing of the good that's an issue, not what you do. If you know that somebody needs a hug, they're in desperate need of a hug, and you withhold that from them, for you it's sin. If you know to do good and you don't do it, to you, to that man, it's sin. Chapter 5 of James, verse 1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your masteries that shall come upon you, miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupt, and your garments are moth-written. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Okay, now this is about the last day. This is about the time and season which we are in. And if we look at Wall Street in our country, we can see that this is being played out very, very vividly with us. Those that have been rich and corrupt, their stuff is being taken from them. They laid up all of this wealth, but they think that they're laying it up for themselves. See, actually, money only changes hands. That's the principle of money. It changes hands. So even though you're a rich man and you gather up all this riches, it don't mean you get to keep it. Not one rich man gets to take one penny with him into the grave. So you're a billionaire and you amass all this wealth and you bring it all together for yourself. You think you've done it for you, but in actuality, someone else will have that money. The moment you close your eyes, it will pass on to someone else. Not only that, but the wealth in our country, with the stock market crash and all of that, wealth changed hands. The money didn't dissipate. It just went from one set of hands to the next. That's all it did. It changed hands. So now it's changing hands because some of the people who had the money were corrupt and they did not treat the people under them right. See, God is a righteous judge. Be not deceived, he's not marked. What a man soweth, that shall he also reap. If you sow corruption, you're going to reap corruption. Verse number 5. Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth, and have been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. The just doesn't resist the rich man. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth, and have long patience for it, until he receive the early and the latter rain. The husbandman, which is Christ, waits for the harvest, which is every soul upon the earth, and is for the last day. And he's going to receive back for this harvest those that belong to him in the beginning and those that belong to him now. The Lord is going to gather up all of those that are his. Verse 8. Be ye also patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. See, now we have seen that the rich man is howling and crying and is miserable because he's lost so much wealth. This is a sign to us, because he has lost his wealth, because he has gathered it for the last day harvest for the saints to have. That money is going to change from their hands to the saints' hands in order to finish the work of laboring throughout the earth, in order that the husbandman, which is Christ, will receive those that belong to him. The harvest is souls. Verse 9. Grudge not one another against one another, brethren, lest ye be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door. So we need to be thinking about our behavior, how we acting, and what's going on with us, because the time is coming where the Lord is standing at the door, where at one time, very soon in the near future, the trump will sound. The dead in Christ will rise, and we which are alive and remain will be caught up. So don't get into a place where you're out of order. You're grudging against one another. Don't do that. Get ready for the coming of the Lord. Spend your time being ready, getting in readiness for the coming of the Lord, because he's at the door. Verse 10. Take, my brethren, the prophets who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering and affliction, of patience. The prophets of old knew that the Lord was coming, knew about the Messiah, knew about the coming of the Lord, and patiently through suffering and all that they endured, waited for God. And in their timing, the old prophets of old, they looked for Christ, but they never saw him. He didn't come in their lifetime. They died without the promise. Even though they believed the promise and they looked for the promise, they died without it. We now know that the promise has come and is again about to return to the earth. The Lord his return is imminent. The signs of the time are so obvious that only those who refuse to want to see the truth, who lied to themselves about it, could even begin to say it's not true. The signs of the times, the scripture is so fulfilled right now that you would have to choose to be blind at this point. You would have to choose by choice. You would have to say, I don't receive this, in order to not believe that the Lord's return is imminent. He told us that we would know the season in which he would come. Not the day, but the season. We know in our earthly realm when the seasons have changed, when we have gone from summer to fall, when we've gone from fall to winter, and when we've gone from winter to spring. There are signs around us that lets us know. When it's time from winter to spring, the trees bud. The leaves that were dead are now returning. They're beginning to grow and blossom, and the flowers are coming back, and the insects have come back, because we are moving from winter to spring. We see the signs of that season. We see the signs of the season of spring. So the Lord said that we would know the season in which he was coming, and he gave us those signs. He told us to look for particular things, and you can find those signs in the book of Matthew. He told us, and Luke also, the signs of the times. And therefore the things in which we can see and see clearly, we know that this is the season in which the Lord is about to return. His return is imminent. He is even at the door. And the scripture tells us to look nigh, draw nigh, look nigh, for our redemption draweth nigh.